right. On this edition of Fit Rockstar Show, we have one of the icons in the sport. I'm so nervous interviewing him. JM Manion. He is the NPC official news photographer. He is the son of the president of the IFBB Pro League, NPC League. Thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor. And by the way, he is also Bat Manion, as many of you know.
Yeah, Chris Min has hung that name on me.
I love it.
Kind of appropriate.
Oh, it's excellent. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it because I know you're a very busy man and you have many hats that you wear. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I said I'm never too busy for you. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. The audio went out. So I wanted to recap real quick about the Pittsburgh Pro. So I wanted to ask you, why is the Pittsburgh Pro such an important show for athletes to compete in?
Well, outside of it being my father's contest, it is the only contest that the entire judging panel judged the Arnold and the Olympia. And pretty much all of them judge most of the top national shows like Nationals, USA, where you qualify to turn pro. So they're looking at you to qualify to turn pro. And then when you go on this pro stage, you're going to look down and see all the exact same people sitting down there.
Yeah. Yeah. It looked like it was a really great turnout. One of my favorite wins was Sadiq. What a great comeback.
That's how you do a comeback.
Yes, absolutely. How long was it since he was on stage? 3 years?
Yeah, he said almost 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
And he's been a pro for 10 years.
Oh,
he turned pro 10 years.
Jeez.
The funniest part was him talking to Tyler, and he kept going, Tyler, I'm sorry I keep looking at you, man. I just remember you wrestling in high school. Tyler goes, well, I was 15 when I met you. And Sadiq's like, oh, man.
Hey, buddy felt pretty old. So one of the most interesting guest posers you had, which really was phenomenal, was Derek Lunsford. Wow.
Yes, and even a scheduled guest poser. It was something that Hani Rambob worked out with my father because Evogen was coming in to sponsor the event, and they had a booth, and he was bringing Derek, and he's like, hey, can we get Derek on stage? My dad's like, of course we can. Who knew that was going to be the defining moment of the contest?
Oh, my gosh. How much was his weight there?
We asked him that because we always talked to Derek because he used to wrestle. And the funny thing is, when he wrestled in high school and college, his weight was lighter than what Tyler wrestled at.
Wow.
But he said 157 pounds on that day.
Oh, my God. Man, he looked...
I don't know how to, the 212.
Do you think he should go into open?
I think he could. I mean, you saw him standing toe-to-toe with Nick and Hunter.
Right.
And, of course, Brandon being who Brandon is, I mean, but, to see him next to those other kids, as we'll say, that are as huge as they are, I mean, and he held his own.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody was. That's why Steve Wyman decided to just have fun and put them in a lineup. That was just spur of the moment that Steve did that.
Oh, he just blew all those guys out of the water. It was insane. I wanted to talk to you about how you have, first of all, can you please tell our audience how many things do you do? You do a lot of stuff. You're not just a photographer, right? I mean, there's other things you do.
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually started the NPCnewsonline.com website back in like 2001. It was nothing like it is now. I mean, it was in the very early stages of the internet. And all we had on there were contest pictures and candid pictures. That was really it from the major contests. And then it just developed over the years. In 2010, we actually made it a proper website. And this year, we finally redesigned the entire website from the ground up. So we were lucky enough to actually get the team that designed, we found the team that designed the original one in 2010. And so we were able to get them to come back and redo this and update it. And when I say it was built from the ground up, it wasn't like they took the old website and just made bandages to it. They built the whole thing from the ground up. The hardest part, they said, was they had to transfer 8.1 million photos from the old website to the new one. It took 4 days.
Oh my gosh, 4 days to do all that.
You can't just take them from here to here. They have to go back to wherever they were slotted into on the original website.
Wow. That's a lot. Huh.
Yeah. But so I've been running that. I've been doing all the social media for NPC and IFBB Pro League since Instagram came about and Facebook and everything else. So in actuality, when you count the websites and all these different social media sites, I am overseeing 27 social media platforms.
Jeez. How do you do it? Do you even sleep?
Yeah, in the back cave.
In the back cave, right. And then you're traveling all over the place too, on top of that.
That's nothing unfamiliar. I've been doing that for, 36, 37 years.
Mm-hmm. So let me go back in time when you were a little young little JM Manion. I'm going to say 12, 13, 14 years old. Did you see yourself in the position you're in now? I mean, did you think that you're going to be a fireman, a doctor? I always wanted to ask you that.
I thought I was going to be an architect.
Oh, wow. So then...
Yeah, I'm a straight A art student, and I decided just literally for a blow-off class, take this class in high school, engineering, drawing, and architectural design and drawing, and aced that. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I was pretty good in math at that point. And so I'm like, oh, this is something interesting. You can be creative and do all this stuff. And something that most people don't know, that I was in a really, really bad accident when I was like 18. I got thrown out of a vehicle. We got hit by another vehicle.
Oh, God.
And for with everything that happened, I literally lost my mathematical ability.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in my freshman year of college. And when I went back to school, I couldn't comprehend anything mathematically.
Is that normal? I've never even heard of anything like that.
With hitting your head, having concussions and different things, some things happen. So
wow.
From there, I had already been doing photography from high school. So I just decided to just channel my energies into that.
So now you obviously went to college. So what was your degree in college?
Psychology.
Psychology.
I was a therapist for psychosomatic adolescents.
Wow.
The University of Pittsburgh, they have a hospital there, a psychological hospital. And I always say I've done something that I thought was really smart looking back on it. Like when I went to graduate high school, my father said to me, he goes, listen, I can buy you a camera system or give you a party. I chose the camera system. I said, it might have been the smartest thing I did, because I was like, I don't have the money for that. Relatives are still going to give you gifts and money anyways, and you can go hang out with your friends anytime.
I like the fact that you have a psychology degree. That makes a lot of sense now. You can read people, you can see when they're full of crap and all this kind of stuff. And no, that's really interesting. So
when I was at Pitt, they offered you a chance to intern at this hospital for credits, and I'm just like, well, I'd rather take the credits and get experience if I was going to end up in this field. So I took for 6 months and worked at this hospital.
But then you still were doing your photography on the side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I graduated, ironically, this hospital had a hiring freeze. So this other hospital hired me, but I was using all my vacation and personal days to go to contests. And it finally came to a point where I had to make a decision what to do. Huh. So I asked for a year leave of absence, and I knew within like 8 months I was never going back.
Well, no. I mean, listen, you've got the best job in the world. So, I mean, with your father, how did the NPC get established? How did that happen?
Well, I don't know if everybody realized that he was actually a competitor as well.
Yes.
The very contest was in 1976.
Wow. Now, one thing I did wanted to ask you too. So look, your dad is involved in bodybuilding. You got, bodybuilding's been around forever, around with your family and stuff. Why did you not get into bodybuilding? You ever thought about putting on posing trunks and going on stage?
Well, when he was competing, he had started judging and different things like that. And he always said conflict of interest. That's why Tyler and Cassie could never compete.
Tyler and Cassie being, for those of you who don't know, the son and your daughter, who are also they have business administration degrees, right? Yeah. Now, Tyler he was a top level, like almost Olympic wrestler, right?
Oh, he didn't make it to the Olympics, but he was a collegiate wrestler. Wrestler. He was actually the number one recruit for the University of Maryland for the year that he went in.
And Cassie was a top-notch soccer player, right?
Yes, in football, for those of you outside the United States.
Yeah.
Last weekend in Indianapolis, I said, when I started traveling internationally, everybody would go, "Oh, your daughter's the football player." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. It's not soccer at these other countries." Yeah, she had both of them went on athletic degrees, but they also had academics.
Wow.
So
yeah, you've got, you know what I love about you guys, the whole Manion family, is that your values. You know, you have so much passion for the sports and the athletes and the fans, and I want to take a moment to thank you for that, because it really means a lot. Like, I am so proud to be a part of this league. And, you know, I just wanted to tell you that real quick. And I have to say something really, really quick. So when I won the USAs, like, for me, and this is true, I was more excited to take my photo shoot with you. And I was so scared because I'm like, oh my God, this is like the guy that takes photos of all these people and stuff. And I was very nervous while we were doing our shoot, because I remember it was, of course, in Vegas, but underneath the waterfall. And I was just so scared. But it was the highlight. It wasn't so much about winning the pro card. It was more about the photo shoot with you. So I had to share that.
well, I wish that today's generation thought like that, because the last couple of years have been the absolute worst for these champions photo shoots that I do on Sunday. At the USA, at the Nationals, at the Universe, Junior Nationals. If I was at the Junior USA, they just blow it off altogether.
Yeah, I've seen that. I saw a post of a while back, a few years ago, where some of the people stood you up, like they didn't even show up.
No, that was at Nationals. That was 2 years ago at Nationals in Orlando. And I seriously, at that point, contemplating stopping doing them. And I put that on social media, and I had such tremendous feedback, positive feedback of everybody like, well, you know, don't, just because of a couple bad apples, don't ruin it for everybody. Right. Because I have to tell you, I do enjoy being in a contest and somebody go, "Hey, I'll see you Sunday. That they're that confident that they're going to get their pro card and be the winner of their class, and they're going to be in that photo shoot.
Well, sure. I mean, listen, it honestly, it's a real honor to have a photo shoot with you. I mean, that's what it's about, you know? And when I saw that, I was very insulted because, you know, for me, having won my pro card, it was like the highlight. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to get the pictures,
right?
You know, because it's going to be out there. Of course, shooting with you, you've been around all these top level champions, you know, yeah. So it's sad hearing that.
Magazine, and that champion photo shoot was guaranteed to be on the cover.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's once we've moved into this digital age, everything has changed. And, you know, yeah, did I go on a tirade? I went on a rant? Absolutely. And, you know, and truthfully, my wife, Debbie, was telling me that just keep doing it. Don't worry about them. But that's different, her telling me, but hearing it from everybody else, from people that were actually in the shoots and, you know, previously that were still pros. And that's like Sean Roden, God rest his soul, always proudly told everybody his first photo shoot was with me. And his first magazine cover was shot by me.
Wow.
You know?
Well, you know, again, it's very insulting to hear that some of those athletes did that. You know, they don't have any idea. They really don't. And again, that's their loss, honestly. It really is. So I'm happy that you're still doing those shoots, because people like myself and many, many, many others value you and value that time of yours. Speaking of that, congratulations on your cover with Janet and Etila, the muscular development. That was a really hot photo. So.
Yeah, that was actually photographed a month before the 2020 Olympia, believe it or not.
Wow. You and Debbie, you guys put together these fun shoots, all the matching swimsuits. I love the curly hair shoot. That one looked like a lot of fun.
Married a curly haired girl.
So let's go back in time. So you started photography. You're still doing photography during your high school and stuff. But how did you get involved in the industry? Obviously, your dad and stuff. But how did you get? What was your first job?
There wasn't a job. It was his thing was you have to learn everything from expediting to taping the stage to music. At the Pittsburgh Championships and he would take me to other contests around the country, and he'd just throw me in and tell me to do it. If I messed up, figure out how to fix it. Head judging.
Wow. Now you wrote.
Yeah, I remember. It's the reason I remember it because it's Zanesville, because I think of Frank Zane, right?
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
So we were in Zanesville, Ohio, and the person that the promoter had to do expediting didn't show up. So my dad goes, "You're on. You're now the head expediter." I'm like, "Oh, geez." Right?
So what was
and there was only men's bodybuilding, and I was nervous as you can't even imagine, because if I messed up, I was going to hear about it on the ride home.
How old were you?
I was 14.
14. Oh my God, that's funny. You're on.
Yeah.
Did
You're
you
on,
mess up?
like,
was it a good ride home?
It was, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. What was it like? So growing up with your father, what was that like? I know he was very busy and whatnot. That had to be pretty awesome, though. I mean, seeing all these celebrities.
Yeah, but here's what I said. Actually, this is the only thing I will say good about the pandemic that came about, was sitting around the house. I started going through a bunch of my old photo albums, and I'm looking at everything. I'm going, wow, I really had a unique life. And the reason I had a unique life was because of my father and his involvement in bodybuilding. You know, and it really didn't hit me until a couple of years ago, because what you just said to me was normal. I'm like, well, everybody is around these kind of people,
right?
You know? And I mean, you got to remember, my father's known Arnold Schwarzenegger since 1971. Right. Arnold guest posed in Pittsburgh for a couple of years. I mean, my dad's still friends with Arnold. And that was it. And then when Arnold became a big star, they're like, oh, my friends would go, that guy with the funny voice, your dad knows him? I'm like, oh, yeah, we've known him for years. Like, he used to leave messages at the house on the old answering machine.
Wow. Now you have a photo. You have several photos, actually. I saw one where I think he's laying on a bed or something. You're right next to him.
You know where that was? That was at the same hotel that we just had the Pittsburgh at. Huh. It used to be the Pittsburgh, it's the Wyndham, and that's what he was there for, a guest posing. That was his last year. What he did after the 75 Olympia in 1976, he did like basically a world tour of guest posing because he was retiring.
Right.
And that was there up in his room where he's just laying there, on his bed.
So tell me the first time you meeting Arnold, how did that happen?
I don't know. My dad just brought him to me. I have a picture of me and him. I posted it before. I was like 12 years old in the picture.
Was it at the house? Was it at the gym? How did you?
At a contest.
At a contest.
Natural.
Were you nervous?
No. I just thought, he's got a funny voice.
He had a funny voice. Aw. But then when he became this big celebrity, did that really like, oh, wow, Arnold, he's big time now? Or you're just still looking at him the same?
Well, looking at him the same, but to me, it was just like, oh, that's really cool that, that happened to him,
Who was the first, I'm assuming the first pro you met was Arnold then?
Probably, yeah.
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 So now you had a job with Flex Magazine, is that right?
Yes.
How did you get that job?
I got that because Ricky Wayne, who used to be the editor-in-chief at the time, his son, Kevin, was working for him, and I became friends with him, and we were at the same shows, and I was doing photography as a hobby, but I had the exact same camera that his son had. So he literally said to me, he goes, hey, call me in LA next week. You're at all these contests goofing off with pictures with Kevin. Why don't I send you some real assignments? I'm like, oh, for real? And he's like, yeah. So I remember we were at this was Night of the Champions. So like I literally called him Monday in LA. Figured out the time. Like I didn't wait till the middle of the week. And they sent me on my very first assignment. It was the World Games in London, England. And my father was taking a NPC USA team over there. So he's like, I want you to go over and just do candids. And for this will be your first assignment to do that. And that's basically how it started. And then like 2 years later, we were at the Collegiate Nationals in Miami. There was storms all up and down the East Coast. And besides the psychology degree, I had a minor in writing and a minor in communications. So they used to send a writer and I would photograph the contest. So I called Rick and I said, hey, I talked to, I forget who the writer is. He's not going to make it. I said, I actually have a minor in a writing degree. And he goes, all right, just do it. Let's see how it goes. So I wrote up the contest, submitted the pictures, and then I got a call from Rick saying that they're going to change my contract. They're going to be as for both a writer and photographer for Flex Magazine.
Oh, wow.
All those years that you saw those NPC columns that have Jim Manion's name,
Right.
basically my dad would go, "Hey, write about this." Okay.
Oh,
So I wrote for them. I actually had it was called Rising Stars, and I've run into a lot of people over the years that would. It basically was NPC competitors that were about to turn pro or just turned pro, and I would interview them in this little column about what they did, how they got there. Basically, the same kind of stuff that I'm doing standing in front of the NPC wall now at the NPC photo gym. But I would write it all up. I had to learn to type and everything.
yeah, but so
Because
both hands, right? Or are you just doing the one?
you had to type. And if you messed up, it's not like now where you can just automatically fix it. You'd be like ripping the paper out, unfold it after you crush it up, read it so you could do it again. And then you'd have to mail it to them.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's funny.
There were no fax machines at that point yet either.
So you just sitting
I'm
there
really
with the typewriter just typing away, and wow. Huh. What did you...
I thought it was great when electronic typewriters came out, which is the precursor to the computers.
How do you have such a great memory of all this stuff? Like, you truly are a real historian of bodybuilding. You know everything, probably even the color of the posing trunks that somebody wore.
Well, Arnold wore black at all his guest posings for us. I can tell you that.
See? Oh, my gosh. You really do have such an incredible...
I don't know if I'm an only child, and I don't know. This was my life, you know?
But you never competed. Didn't want to
No.
because it was a conflict of
Didn't
interest.
say I was told no, can't do it.
You was told no, but did you want to, though?
Yes, I did.
You did. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Did you actually start posing? Like, would you practice posing sometimes or pose with some...
Of course, Frank Kane was my time, so
Okay.
I would say big luck.
So, what's the deal with hard rock? What's the thing behind the hard rock? I know you love your hard rocks.
Okay, so again, this goes back to my life. So we were in Tokyo for the Mr. Universe. This was 1986, and I ate something that my father was getting the gold medal award from Ben Weeder for
Oh, wow.
distinguished for everything. I missed taking the pictures because I was hugging the toilet bowl up in the room.
Oh,
I was just like, I couldn't even get out. When my dad came and got me, I was literally sprawled out on the bathroom floor, just
my
from dehydration.
God.
So that's the only thing that saved me from him yelling at me. And the last day we were in Tokyo, I found a Hard Rock Cafe, and I'm just like, oh, American food, like something I could probably try and eat. So that became my obsession with Hard Rock, was going to all these different countries and places and knowing that you could get something American to eat, like normal food.
So out of all
I'm very picky on my food. So, eating like real Japanese food, not like the Americanized versions here,
right.
but I just wasn't into all that stuff.
Now, when you say picky, like, what do you mean? Like, hold certain things, don't season this, don't do that, like a typical bodybuilder would do?
Do not like and will not eat.
Okay.
So, like, when I started dating Debbie, her father said to me, give me a list of things that you like to eat, because it'll be a lot shorter than the things you don't
Oh, my
like.
gosh, that's too funny. I love it. Speaking of Debbie, the real boss, right?
Yeah.
The Italian vampire. How did you guys meet?
At the gym.
In your dad's gym?
Her older brother brought her to the gym.
So you
Yeah.
got to, okay, run me through it. So, I mean, you see her, like, what was it? As soon as she walks in, you're like, oh my God, who's that?
No, I was a senior in high school, and he came to me, and I knew both of her older brothers before I even knew she existed. And he's like, hey, my little sister's in 9th grade up there. And I'm like, I'm a senior. What do I care, right? And I would see her every day in the hallway, and I'm going, I bet you that's Al's little sister, right? And when he brought her into the gym, I'm like, in my head, I was like, oh, I was right. It is his sister. So, he introduced us. We just talked. And as she'll tell you, I stalked her around the gym.
You stalked her. What does that mean? What does that mean, stalking? You're like trying to pretend like you're not looking at her, but you really are. I mean,
all around and talk to her.
aw. So when did you know that she was the one?
Oh, well, listen, in a few weeks from now, it's going to be 40 years ago we went on our first date.
Oh my God! Congratulations! Aw.
Yeah, crazy, right?
You don't see that nowadays anymore, man. These people don't even last a year in their relationships. These young kids, they don't have any idea the value. So, how did you and your wife? How do you keep it How do you keep it alive? What would you give? What advice would you give for couples out there?
Well, she knew what I did. She knew that I traveled. She knew I was taking pictures, and I know what she liked and she did. I would say don't try to change the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, because if you don't like the way they are now, what are you going to do 20 years from now?
Right.
If 20 years.
No, I
So
love Debbie because she keeps things real with people. Like, you don't know what to expect when she's going to say something. It's like, oh, okay. And she's
no,
beautiful.
one of the funniest things, and I still hear this is, wow, I can't believe your wife lets you take pictures of all those girls. I'm like, lets me take pictures? It was her idea.
Was it?
Yes, it was. So what was happening was I was taking pictures, and these, women competitors, and whether at the time it was women's bodybuilding, then we had fitness and a bikini. They were always asking me for advice, and Debbie's like, "Why are you giving that stuff up for free? Work with these women. We'll photograph them, and we'll promote them through the NPC and everything, right?" So. And that's what I'm still doing. I mean, when you see me working, just like I did the photo shoot after the Pittsburgh Pro with those 8 bikini pros.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys come up with some very creative stuff. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people knocking on your door, and tell me I'm wrong, because I know I'm not, that want to shoot with you. Literally. I mean, they're trying to, hey, when can we shoot? And you're just, you're very busy, and if you can get them in, you can. I love your road series that you do for the shows and whatnot, the Olympia, of course, your Pittsburgh Pro. I mean, you can see these girls and the guys, their eyes light up when they're in there, and to have an opportunity to shoot with you in the gym, and that really says something. But good for Debbie on getting you to do the girls, because she's right. It's a business. You got to do what you got to do, and
I honestly, it wasn't until like a couple of years ago that I realized what it actually meant to these pros, because a lot of these pros, they act like, well, I'm a pro now, nothing phases me. But the moment they walk through that door, and the first thing now that I know they're looking for that wall with the double bicep load. And I really hear it more from now these international competitors. And like last year, when Angela Borges came in and she was she's going to compete in Pittsburgh, and I did an interview with her. I had Ettila with me to translate, and she was explaining to me via Ettila what it meant for her to be standing right here with that double bicep logo wall behind her.
Of course.
And it's something. And then I had interviewed the 2 Australian bikini pros that were just in girl part, and I came to Pittsburgh, and they were talking about the same thing. And they actually got, as I say, they got the bonus of my father walking in, because I never promised that he's walking in, because I don't know when he's ever going to show up. He just shows up whenever he wants, Well, and for them, they were like beyond excited.
Well, that's the other thing too. You don't know when the president's going to come in. I mean, just being there. Look, it's history. It's history. This is like the mecca, of the bodybuilding right there. I mean, it's a really great opportunity, and it's private. It's by invitational only, correct?
Right, and this is the old Manion's gym. I'll make that clear to everybody. But years ago, when we decided to make it the photo gym, it's just. Trying to say it's a private gym is kind of the wrong word, because people turnkey or something. It's really our personal gym.
Personal gym.
We literally have no signs. There's nothing to indicate where it is. We are literally hidden in plain sight. We're on the main street of a town, and people have no clue what's in there.
Wow. Huh.
And whenever I give people the directions to come there, I also send them a picture of the building, so that the Uber driver or whatever knows where to actually stop, because there's not even a number on the building, like for the address.
Wow. Yeah, Bob was telling me that. He says that it's hard to find, like you don't even know that it's even there. So I'm like, oh, right. Okay, well. But no, I mean, everybody, you can always tell they've got this ecstatic faces and stuff when they're in the gym. But hopefully one day, maybe you can have me there, because I would love to be. I'm making a comeback, so maybe. I know, just saying. But
I'm gonna throw out.
what?
I want in and talk about your comeback when you're ready.
I would love to do that.
We'll do what we do. We film an interview, we film you training, we film you posing. We'll do the whole thing.
Heck yes, I'm all in for it. When was the last year that the NPC News magazine came out?
2018.
2018. I remember.
We literally put with the website.
I used to love that magazine. Like it was like when I had it was like this thick, you know.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah. That thing, I love that you flip through the pictures and stuff. I mean, times have changed, obviously, but you guys, again, have done so much for the athletes, and I can't thank you guys enough. So going back in time, so you started writing for Flex, you were doing the photography and all that good stuff. So then when did you transition on? When did you leave Flex?
I was doing NPC News Online at the same time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, magazine was bi-monthly, so it only came out 6 times a year, which is why the magazine, like you said, was that big.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, what that was, it went to all the members. They had like a list of 500 gyms in the United States that it got sent to, and it was going to all the IFBB pros as well. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about thousands of copies of that, and it was funded by advertising.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too, like because it looked like a lot of work and very expensive to put together.
You remember, pages everything was glossy.
Right, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're collector's items.
Yeah. So what happened was, as the website started growing, and we were trying to sell people to do advertising in the magazine and the website, and everyone's like, "No, we just want to do the website." So it just got to the point. The last 2 issues only were, and we had taken it down to about 250 pages at that point. We could only get 12 pages of ads.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It just wasn't worth it at that point.
Out of all
I enjoy having it hold in my hand. I mean, looking at it on a phone or iPad is not the same as having that actual paper.
No, it's not the same at all. Do you miss like magazines, or do you like the digital?
I miss the magazines.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a copy of every issue.
I bet you do. So let me ask you this. Out of everybody you photographed, who was the one you photographed the most?
Who have I photographed the most? Well, I would say at this point, it's probably been Janet Liu was one of them, and Urishna.
Okay. And out of all the interviews you've done, which one is your favorite?
I don't think I have one. I have certain bits and pieces of ones that I like.
Which ones were most interesting?
They're all interesting because what I'm trying to do is, and I actually had this compliment from Sergio Oliva Jr. He said to me, he goes, the reason he likes watching my interviews, he goes, it's like you're having a conversation with the person. You're not just like, you're asking them questions, but he goes, I know in your head, you already know the answers. So, which is true, but no one wants to hear me say it. I'm trying to get them to say it,
Oh yeah.
And, yeah. And, it's just, because I'm trying to introduce people to, like, about a month ago or so, we had the 2020 NPC USA Wellness Overall winner, Bruna Saric. We didn't get to interview her or do the champion shoot for that USA because on that Sunday, Tamer and Tarek had moved that to Phoenix. And on that Sunday, we all boarded planes in Phoenix and went right to the Olympia in Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
like literally the entire plane. There was like 50 people because you had all of the different teams and stuff that were there. Everybody was on that flight.
Oh my gosh.
Huh. I never had a chance to interview her. And she had told me that her husband was from Cleveland and they had come back to visit. And she had texted me saying, hey, is the offer still open if I could come to the gym and do an interview and stuff? So I said, yeah, come on in, Now, here we are. It's 2022. It's almost 2 years since she won. She's been in the Wellness Olympia, but people still didn't really know her. So it was fun to get to know. It was fun to get to know both her and her husband, and just to get the people to know who they are. My goal with the interviews is people may even know people, like they may know you, but there may be certain things that you say in the interview that nobody knew.
Of course.
Just like you asked me, nobody's ever asked me what my degree's in. So you're like one of the first ones that ever actually asked me that.
Well, listen,
Everybody
you're
that I was in photography all the time.
you are a very interesting person, and I actually like to say you're like the most interesting man in the world, because again, you've done lots of stuff. So I don't know if a lot of people know, but you also, I mean, listen, yes, you're a photographer, you've done all these, but you've done your own comic book, Sirens,
Yes.
right? It's a series, right?
Yeah.
And when did that start?
Literally 10 years ahead of my time.
Look, I've seen I've seen them, and it's beautiful how it's put together, the whole thing. So how did you get that idea?
I had that idea because you're seeing all of these. It was basically built at that time around the NPC and IFBB Pro fitness competitors, right? And I was always like, when guys go to a comic convention, they want to meet Wonder Woman or Catwoman. Well, these women look like the comic books,
Right.
And so I did that. When the first issue came out, the first Iron Man movie hadn't even come out yet. So I go, if I would have probably waited 5 years, it would have been a little bit different,
Right.
But we did we never got to go to the San Diego Comic Con because that's big time and it's a lot of money. As I say, I always say to everybody, I was the George Lucas of the project because I completely funded it.
Wow.
Yeah. And a friend of mine had introduced me to a comic book writer named Ian Asher from Columbus. So I told him my ideas, and then he would write them. And he knew different guys that drew for comics, and they'd worked for DC and Marvel. So we hired them, for each issue to do it. So, I was an A+ art student, but I couldn't draw for comic books ever. But yeah, so now what I also did was, since they were based on the real character, the real women, the real competitors, we gave them their names, but they also had like their superhero name too.
Right.
We would take them to the comic convention, and they had this is ironic. If you watch WWE, you know who Alexa Bliss is?
Of course, yeah.
Hoffman. She's from Columbus, right? She was creating suits at that time. She came to Pittsburgh with her mom, and she created the costumes from their comic book for these women to wear at the comic conventions.
Oh, wow. Huh. How cool is that?
Yeah. So, guys would come up and they'd be like, oh, this is you. And they're like, yeah. So that's how we were able to sell the books and stuff, because they would get a picture with, the real life person in the book.
Well, can we tell the people who these real life people are? Because I know some of them, but
we should do a whole nother show on that one.
because it takes forever, right? There's not enough time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do have them up in my photo studio when you walk in, for all of them. It was 6 issues. We didn't know how many issues it was gonna go for, but it became popular, and I was just selling them through social media, basically, And it's funny because when wellness started, I had a bunch of the people that remembered that say, you should start a new one with the wellness competitors because they really look like the comic books now.
They do. Are you gonna?
Yeah, they do.
Does that mean you're gonna start doing that again?
Obviously, I've thought about it.
So I'm curious. So I had Laura Lee on my show, and I said to her, "Why has JM not shot you as Wonder Woman?"
That do you remember when I was doing the body paint photo shoots?
Yes, those were awesome. Yep.
Well, that makeup artist just disappeared.
Oh.
So if you can do body painting and I want to start this series up again, get hold of me. I'm easy to find. I'm all over media.
I love the body paint. Listen, I got somebody out of San Diego if you need a really good body paint artist. He does my She-Hulk and Ghost Rider and stuff. But yeah, I would love to see Laura Lee as Wonder Woman and photo shoot with you. I think that'd be, because she looks like Wonder Woman. She's got that look.
Yeah.
So
Actually, back a couple years ago, Aaron Stern had a picture that an artist made her into Wonder Woman.
Oh, wow.
And much as I like Gal Gadot, I always thought, the reason why I started the comic book is Wonder Woman should look like an Aaron Stern or a Laura Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Gal Gadot's nice and everything, but she doesn't. If you look at Wonder Woman in the comics, she's got muscles, right?
Right.
You can.
So let me ask you something. This is off topic. This is going towards competitors. A lot of people always ask this question. They think so like the judging, it's not fair, all these things, and they think, oh, well, this person has so many followers, that's why they won or whatever, or it doesn't matter, does it? Yeah.
Most of these judges aren't even on social media. They wouldn't even, if you walked up and you said, I'll give you $500,000 if you tell me what my IG name is, they'd be like, I don't know, and I don't really care.
See what my IG name is. But I mean, that doesn't win shows. Like nobody, like you said, nobody cares.
Oh, it's because of who their coaches are. Well, the sheet that they have only has their name and a number. It doesn't say who they're coached by. It doesn't have any of that on there. It's the exact same sheets that you see on IFBB Pro that go up like the Monday and Tuesday before a contest. Mm-hmm. That's what the judges have in front of them. There's no other indication of where they're from, who their trainer is or who their husband or boyfriend is or girlfriend or wife or whatever. None of that comes into play.
Right.
And I know you're all good because your dad's a president, you're saying that, but the proof's out there. There is no conspiracy theories.
Okay. And I agree with that. So it makes me laugh when I hear that because, of course, there's always those people who think, oh, it's because of this, because of that. And then there's people who just don't understand the judging. They don't understand the scoring, and they...
Here, let me give you a real good example. So the year that Raymond Edmonds won the NPC Nationals overall, men's physique, right? People were going, oh, your boy won nationals. Your boy won men's physique. My dad's like, who are you talking about? The kid from Pittsburgh. He goes, what kid from Pittsburgh? I don't even know who you're talking about. So he grabs me. He goes, hey, let's go backstage and find out who this Raymond kid is, right? So we go back to all the men's physique guys. My dad's like, hey, which one of you is Raymond? The kid's like, I am Mr. Manion. And they were like, oh, hi. Pittsburgh. And he's like, yeah. He goes, you've never figured out a way to come to the gym. He goes, oh, no, man. He goes, I'm afraid of you guys. I will never suppose to do that, right?
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And he goes, but I know Rico because I train at the LA Fitness next to his GNC store. Mm-hmm. And he goes, so you know Rico, but you never, and he's like, oh, no, not at all, right? We had no clue who he was.
Huh. Wow.
So when Raymond finally won the Olympia, we literally did the interview talking about where everybody says that you won the Olympia because you're from Pittsburgh. He goes, yeah, why don't I have 3 others? The 3 that I lost.
Right.
He goes, my friends, he goes, what are my enemies like? He goes, if that was the case, I'd already be a 3-time Mr. Olympia.
Right. No, he's 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, a lot of these people have different views, obviously, as you know. Speaking of that, what are some of your biggest pet peeves?
In regard to?
Like bodybuilding, or in general.
Oh, my biggest pet peeve for years was #Miami Nationals.
Because it was in Miami.
Yes, but people, that is not the name of the contest. Okay? When people would #Miami Nationals, it drove me bonkers. I used to, when I would see people at the competitors meeting, I would literally say to people, hey, if any of you end up winning and you're going to do the champions photo shoot, if I see it said Miami Nationals in somewhere on one of your posts, I'm not going to shoot you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what happened all the years that it was in Atlanta and Dallas and it moved around? I mean, they didn't call it, Atlanta Nationals. So I don't know what yo-yo started that hashtag, but I'd really like to just give them a slap upside the head.
A slap upside the head. Okay, so I'm not going to say the Miami Nationals, or I wouldn't do that anyway. It's Nationals. That's it.
Yeah, it's NPC.
I mean,
and then this past year, they started calling it the Sharu Nationals. No, he was just a sponsor. It's not the Sharu Nationals.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people were like, Sharu Nationals. Yeah.
No, it's the and it even has its own Instagram page at NPC Nationals.
Right. Well, listen, it doesn't take a rocket science, honestly, to figure. I mean, it's common sense. It's Nationals, people, for real.
Calling every other national level contest Nationals. Well, I did the Nationals in Las Vegas. No, you did the USA Championships. I did the Nationals in New Jersey. No, that was the Universe. You know,
It's confusing.
I,
Like they
you don't know the name of the contest that you won, then you shouldn't get your pro card.
right. Now, speaking of the pro cards, how many pro cards, how many do you give away each year? Like this year? How many are we looking at?
I'm not even sure, because now with the NPC Worldwide, you factor all that in. There's a lot out there.
Over 1,000,
So-
right? I would say.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah. Again, this is what makes you guys awesome. You're giving everybody an opportunity. Do we possibly see more divisions being added in, like maybe a 220 class in the men's?
That would be in the pros, and I don't think that they're going to do that. I think what they have. Listen, you all don't realize how long it took for me to get my father to sign off on wellness.
How long? Why was he not wanting to sign off on it?
Because he knew nothing about it, and it's like what everybody always said. And I'll be one of the ones. I'll tell you the truth. First time I ever heard it from Wally Ragusa and Johnny Styles was, I'm like, oh, these are just a bunch of out of shape figure and bikini girls. And then I saw it in Colombia, and I was like, oh, was I mistaken? Right? I hadn't even seen it in Brazil yet, but I saw it in Colombia, which there were a bunch of, South American women, and I'm like, well, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be.
Right.
So,
no,
yeah.
those bodies are beautiful. Oh my goodness, you just can't stop looking at them. Like when it first was at the Olympia at the expo, the crowd was crazy. Holy
so
smokes.
I was at the 2019 Arnold South America in Sao Paulo, and they had the amateur Arnold had 605 competitors. I remember this because I've said it a million times. And of that 605, 100 of them were just in a wellness model search. We hadn't even started wellness. We were calling them wellness model searches. So 1/6 of the contest was wellness. And I turned around and I looked, and until right to the back of the expo was just, and in the back you saw these women sitting on their boyfriend and husband's shoulders and stuff. So I took a video. I did like a 180. And I sent it off in a WhatsApp to my father going, look at this crowd. And he's like, oh, wow, is that for the men's pro bodybuilding? I'm like, no, that's for wellness only. Right?
Right.
And what you saw in Orlando for the Wellness Olympia was probably less than half of what they had in that Expo Brazil.
Wow.
But I don't know if you saw, it was off to the side where the athletes were going at. The amount of people that were waiting for Francielli, it was like the whole length of the thing. They were all from South America.
Wow.
Had come up to,
Well,
she went crazy for her.
Oh, she's amazing. It's really interesting to see the different physiques on this stage. Now, I got to admit, there are some girls who are a little bit. I mean, for you, in your opinion, what is wellness? Because some girls that I've seen at some of the shows are a little bit bottom heavy, too much. So in your words, what is wellness?
Well, pretty much almost every one of these top pros that you talk to was an athlete at some point in their life. The majority of them being soccer players. Okay. So, interestingly enough, the woman who just won this year's NPC Girl Power Wellness overall and just won the USA overall. So I was doing a photo shoot with her on Sunday because we had told Shannon that the open bikini winner and the open wellness winner, we give them a free photo shoot after the contest, right? So I asked her, I go, what sport were you in? I don't even ask them if they played sport. I just automatically say, what sport were you in? And she's like, oh, I was a pole vaulter. And I'm like, first time I heard that, but that makes sense. You're running, even when you have that pole, you got to push yourself up.
Right.
And she's like, these babies are going nowhere.
These babies.
Oh. And I literally predicted that day that she would turn pro at the Junior USA. And I have to say I was right.
Hey, listen, are you ever wrong, really? No.
Yes, I am a few times. I just don't let people.
Well, listen, I'm running out of time, but I want to touch up on a couple things. One of them, which was very inspiring for me, and as well as many others. So a few years ago, you had a life-changing moment, and with Dr. Bob Goldman, who so you had a weight loss. What was it? 176 days, or that you were on a diet?
Yeah.
And how much weight did you lose?
Like 65 pounds.
65 pounds. Wow. But I wanted to just touch up on that.
My my head, I wanted to go 55 for 55, meaning lose 55 pounds for being going to be 55 years old.
Wow.
But I hit that when we were at the Olympia, and Bob goes, "You still have like another 6 weeks." He goes, "Keep going, just keep going. See where you end up." And then my dad decides to send Tyler and I to Italy in November, a week before my birthday. And I'm like, "Really? You're sending me right to the heart of Italy?
Teasing
all that
you.
Food? It'll be a good."
Well, listen, I mean, that was a really great success story, and it was very inspiring. I know that, a lot of people are very inspired by that, such as myself. So I wanted to touch on that because, by your story, it inspires other people to change their life and make things better. Because when I'm always seeing you, I see you snacking. You're a very healthy eater. You're eating veggies, and you've got your stuff, and, you're on it. So that's very inspiring because you travel all the time, but my point is you make it work. There is no excuses, right?
Right. Well, and the other thing was what we didn't touch on was for a 10-year period, besides traveling for this, we were traveling to watch Tyler and Cassie play collegiate sports because there's 2 years difference in them. High school was easy because it was here. But, he was at the University of Maryland. She was at Belmont Abbey College in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's not like they were just around the corner.
Yeah, so, that's a lot to have on your shoulders.
Also, like Salute, he talked about how Debbie and I used to leave the Olympia to go fly to wherever Cassie's soccer game was. He remembered all that.
You are truly something, my friend. But what is the thing with Duran Duran? Is that your favorite band?
Yeah. I just loved them from being in the 80s. Now that's a story unto itself in that got to meet them at the 1990 MTV Video Music Awards.
Oh my God. How did you score that?
Because the Miss Olympia was on Saturday and the MTV Awards were on that Thursday.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah, at the Universal Amphitheater.
So
I literally walked up and talking to them.
Well, I'm super jealous.
Badge,
look, I'm a big 80s person. I love Duran Duran. I love the Van Halen. I love it all. There is one picture that I always laugh at. You post it every now and then. Is it David Bowie where he's looking right at your camera and I think he's pointing at you or something? No, Rod Stewart?
Right.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, listen, like I said, all of this is through my father, because of people he knows through bodybuilding. Like I met Linda Carter on the set of Wonder Woman when I was younger because he knew somebody from bodybuilding who worked at Warner Brothers. I actually have a picture of Linda Carter and I, in the back lot of Warner Brothers Studios.
So speaking of big time celebrities, so again, going back to the weight loss and what you went through, wasn't there a big celebrity who came and actually gave you kudos at the Olympia?
Yes, which was pretty awesome.
Right.
Like you got to figure the thousands of people that he sees on a regular basis. And it just came out of thin air. He just turned around and he went, "Hey, come here." And I come over and he literally grabbed me. So he wanted it to be private. He just said it to me, Even my dad didn't even know what he said. So
Dwayne DeWalk, so he just blew off everybody, just came straight to you just to give you some words of encouragement. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, The Rock is a great guy. Hopefully one day we see him running for president. I don't know, but maybe there's always that possibility.
Arnold could be California. I'm sure he could be president.
Oh, right. So
right.
Who was the best Mr. Olympia?
That's a tough one because I always say that there's two. I say Lee Haney and Jay Cutler. And people always go, well, Jay Cutler, didn't have as many as Lee Haney. I go, it's not what they did on the stage. It's what they did with the title off the stage as well.
Amen.
That's what and everybody's like, well, what about Arnold? I go, yeah, I mean, Arnold has advanced the sport probably more than any other Mr. Olympia because of who he was, because of pumping iron, But if you know Lee Haney's story and Jay Cutler's story, which I know, to me, that was the personification of being a Mr. Olympia, of how you carried that title.
Well, those two are the greatest ambassadors of the sport. They do a lot.
Right.
Very positive. I mean, Jay and Lee, they're always for the fans and people. They're always trying to put that positive light out there. I have a high respect for them. What is your most memorable Olympia?
Trying to think. There's a lot of good Olympias.
And how many you been to?
Let's see. I only missed from 1976 till now. I've only missed 4 of them. Okay.
Wow.
So I don't know. I can't do the math that quick in my head right now, but yeah. Was probably I think when Jay won his, and Jay lost and he came back and won it again. And I think the audience almost blew the roof off the Orleans Arena.
Well, I think that was a really great comeback, I mean,
Yes.
that's the way it should be. I like stuff like that. It keeps it entertaining. Do you think that we need to add more entertainment value into our shows to draw more people in from the outside?
I say that the sport is always going to be a niche sport, no matter what you do.
Right.
I mean, back in the day, when it was on Wild World of Sports, and Arnold was on Wild World of Sports, and he was actually commentating on his contest backstage. And if it didn't go over then, it's not going to make a difference now. I mean, we have a good audience now, especially with live streams and everything else, that I don't know if you really need the mainstream exposure. I mean, people come. I mean, how many times do we look in the audience at the Olympia and you see movie stars and stuff are sitting there, right?
All the time, right?
I'm not talking about like Batista and stuff, the people that had a tie to competing. I'm talking about, other movie stars and TV stars that are just there because they like the sport.
Sure. I think actually one of the Olympias we had Henry Cavill, Superman, was there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing Josh Brolin
at
the last one at the Orleans. Yeah.
Oh, now that's cool.
You sit on the end. I was really like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah. So I wanted to just say one more thing. Where do you see the Olympia in 5 years from now? How much bigger do we see it?
Well, first, I hope it stays in Vegas. I'm a proponent that I feel that that Vegas is the home of the Olympia.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. I'm not knocking that whatsoever. But I just feel like it has been in Vegas for so many years that's where I'd like to see it still there in Vegas. And do I think it get bigger? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think from the transition from AMI and like with Robin Chang to Jake and Dan and Tamer and everybody and what they're doing, I think those guys took the ball and they've run with it. I mean, look, we had the biggest Olympia stage ever in Orlando.
Right.
And I know that those guys want to top that.
Sure. Well, every year they top that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing it at the Zappos Theater because you're in an actual theater where you can actually do theatrical things there.
Well, listen, I really appreciate your time. I also heard one real quick. I also heard you tell people sometimes that you're Bruce Wayne, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Bruce. Hey, Mr. Wayne."
Yes.
Gosh.
At a contest one, some woman came up to me. She asked me if I was like Dan Ray or something, and I was like,
Dan
no,
Ray?
my name's Bruce. Yeah, and there's these two other women over there just dying, right? And they're just like, and she walked away, and I didn't mean it to be mean, but I just was just like being flippant,
Oh,
I think it was like Dave test and at the Masters Nationals, and you're pretty much fried at that point,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Yeah, these two women, they were in hysterics. They're like, I can't believe she just shook your hand and said, "Nice to meet you."
Nice to meet you. My goodness. Greatest Batman of all time, Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton.
Yes. Which you actually have a cast of his face, or what is it exactly you have?
I've got. I should pull it up next time. I've actually got the actual symbol that was on his the cast of what they used on his suit.
Oh
Here.
my gosh, how cool is that? I can't wait to see him. Is it going to be in which movie is he going to be in?
He's going to be in the new Flash movie they're making,
Flash.
and they're doing a movie on HBO Max.
Oh, I
So
can't.
he's going to be
wait. I can't wait. We've been waiting for this forever.
yes.
Listen, I
And
know.
listen, because Michael Keaton's from Pittsburgh, which is a big part of it.
I didn't know
everybody.
that.
Yes, born and raised in Pittsburgh. Yes.
Ah, okay. Well, listen.
that very first Batman with Michael Keaton, the modern superhero movie, does not exist because it was the first one to go dark. Because think about it, 2 years earlier, you're looking at Christopher Reeves and Superman, all bright and colorful.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The times have changed. But JM, thank you so much for your time. I can talk to you forever because you're so interesting. You have so many great stories. Thank you so much for what you do for the industry and for us as the fans and the athletes. Thank you to your father, your wife, your son, and your daughter for all they do. We truly appreciate you. Guys, check them out, NPC News Online. Do they go to the IG as well? Is that the main place to go?
Yes, it's the NPC News Online official page.
Well,
yes.
I tell you what. Tell us if you want to say any last-minute words. You want to give some props to all your stuff out there, and then we'll be done.
I always tell everybody anyways, and I at this point, I'm just very happy with the team that I have built into working with NPC News Online. Besides, having Debbie working with me and doing the IG, and we've got Becca Sizemore doing that, but also bringing on the Gilbert brothers, who is Gilco Productions, and also with Will Whitman, and giving the best experience when they do something with the NPC. And it's been great to bring in these new younger guys, and their ideas are just so different and innovative, and as well as working with everybody else, like with the Dan Rays and with the Jeff Bins and everybody else that we do. I mean, we also have my stepmother's nephew doing all the 4K video that you've been seeing us doing from the Arnold and the Olympia. I mean, he's same age as Cassie, so
wow.
I mean, it's young, fresh minds. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't do that because they feel threatened of somebody doing the same thing they do. And I'm like, no, it just makes the whole experience better.
Absolutely. Well,
I always tell everybody, photo shoot, I'm like, if you have an idea, speak up, because I'm very collaborative. I'm not like, it's my way or the highway. I'm not that way at all.
that's the way it should be. And again, thank you so much, JM, for taking the time. Appreciate you. And I'm sure I'll see you at the show real soon.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, JM.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Ciao.